Hey everybody, welcome back to Gideon's Stuff, where, as always, we're a few years late to the party. But today we're taking a look at the Civivi Ortis. Yeah, this knife has been out for a little while, and it sure made waves when it first was dropped. And yeah, so I'm finally getting around to it. Let's go ahead and start off with our blade length measurements and stuff, if I can find my ruler, which I always seem to lose. Where did I put it this time? There it is. We found it. Disaster averted. Alright, let's measure this in inches. 3¼ inches, pretty much exactly. So yeah, it's pretty nice. Let's go ahead and do our size comparisons. And we'll start out, as always, you guys know the drill, with our rats. There's the 1 and the 2. Very, very comparable in size to the rat 2. A little bit bigger, but definitely quite a bit smaller than the rat 1. Next, let's go ahead and bring out our flagship comparisons. Here's our PM2. And there's the bug out. There we go. So yeah, a lot of similarities between this knife and the bug out. Color, handle material. Okay. Knocking all kinds of stuff over. Next, let's go ahead and go into our Civivis. It's the Elementum. And here's our color matching Praxis. Pretty cool, pretty cool. And we'll do it against a couple of other Civivis just because. So here is the Riffle. Civivi that I like quite a bit. And here's a Civivi that's pretty comparable. The Dogma. Both of them are clip points, and a lot of people, including myself, thought that these were the same clip points. Here, let's get the riffle out of here. But these blade shapes, I think, are different. Maybe not. This one, I don't know, has always felt a little less tall. Maybe. Let's see. You know what? We can solve this with numbers. So let's take a height measurement from the edge to there. Almost exactly 1 inch. Also almost exactly 1 inch. Maybe they are exactly the same blade. I don't know why this one looks slimmer. Maybe it's a little bit longer. No, not longer. Okay, sorry for this quick detour, but you know what? I bet that's why Civivi moved more recent versions of the Dogma to the fuller. They got rid of this to show that the blades are different. Wow, that is weird. I thought the Dogma was a little bit different. Guess not. Okay. Well then. Anyways, let's go ahead and talk about materials here. So we have a clip point blade of 9CR18 MOV, which is different from the D2 on the Dogma. 9CR is a great steel. Don't have a problem with that. We have a satin finish here. We have FRN handles. I don't think Civivi has a special name for their FRN like some companies do, but FRN handles, which I like with the different texturing. We have a steel pot clip that is reversible, steel liner lock, ceramic ball bearings, a plastic backspacer. So yeah, pretty basic build and stuff, but pretty nice knife in my opinion. So I was gonna say something else, but I lost it. Anyways, let me just show you the cutting footage. All right, let's talk the Ortis. First off, let's start with the Ergos. They're nice. The handle's pretty neutral shaped. The scales are slightly contoured. It's a good shape. You have this choil up here you can get into. The one ergonomic issue with this knife, like most Civivis nowadays, is that clip. I do not like this clip. It is not good in the hand. Speaking of that clip, how's this knife carry? It's a pretty light knife. It's not a huge knife. Folds up pretty well. The clip is reversible, which I like. It is kind of recessed into the scale with flat screws. Show that over there. So yeah. No problems there. How's the action? It's great. This is a really good action. The detent was very strong when I first got it, but it is broken in beautifully. Absolutely beautifully. Really nice. Alright, let's do some cutting, shall we? Let's see here, what kind of cardboard pieces do I have lying around? Well, let's just do some slices. Very slicey. Very, very slicey. Behind the edge reading is, I actually don't know. Let me take that real quick. Behind the edge reading is about 14 thousandths. Really, really nice. Perfect. Oh, and the blade steel is 9CR18 with a hollow grind. Clip point, obviously. Alright, let's get back to the table. Bam! We're back, and hopefully I have my thoughts more collected now. So, let's go ahead and get into everything that I like and don't like about the Civivi Ortis. First thing I like is, or are, the looks. You guys know me, I love clip point buoy blades, and this is a very, very nice looking clip point buoy blade. Like that a whole lot. Next thing, the action on this knife is really good. Right out of the packaging, this knife had a little bit of a strong detent. In fact, it's a little bit too strong to do the reverse flick comfortably, but I would much rather a Civivi have a strong detent than their typical light detents. But even with the overly strong detent out of the packaging, it broke in very well. Oh, it's very snappy. Got pretty good close. You can flick it with your middle finger. You can technically thumb flick it, but whoops. It's not the easiest thing. It's, since it's a satin finish, the edge is right in here. Don't really give you a lot of grip, but you can do it. If you like thumb flicking, you can do it. There's a lot of things I think make this action great, and one of them is a flipper tab. This flipper tab is done really, really well. So it's a small flipper tab, which sometimes I'm not a big fan of, but you can see that it's a little bit above the center line of the pivot, has excellent jimping. In fact, the jimping is kind of sharp. Like I said, when this knife was brand new and the detent was a little bit strong, the jimping was a little bit painful, but you know what? It's broken in, and you get so much leverage in this. Oh, it's so good. I mean, it's hard to miss a flip. Push buttoning does kind of hurt a little bit, but I'm a light switch guy. Let's see if I can fail this. So I'm just going to apply light pressure. Nope, I cannot fail it. That is a good action. That is a really, really good action, especially compared to, let's bring out that Dogma again. You can see that it has basically the exact same flipper tab, but the jimping on this one is not as aggressive, and also you can see that it's a little bit below the center line of the pivot. Compare that. High flipper tab, low flipper tab. Now with this knife, if I apply light pressure, yeah, the detent on this knife just kind of sucks. And then even then, with the light switch, there we go. Yeah, definitely a much better action on this knife. Much, much better. The reverse flick is a little bit more tricky than on the Dogma, admittedly. On Dogma, it's super easy because the detent is so freaking light, and the thumb flick is also a lot easier. But you know what? I think this is still good because you get a really nice, snappy flip with the flipper tap, but you can also get a really good finger flick. So the action on this knife is exactly what I want. I like this action quite a bit. Next thing I like is the clip is reversible, as you can see, which is really nice. Flat screws. They kind of recess the clip. I kind of wish they'd just gone more. As you can see, they're still... Focus, camera. Focus. There we go. As you can see, the clip is not entirely sunk into the scale, but there's so little clip sticking out that it doesn't really get caught in your pocket at all. So the clip is reversible, and the knife goes in and out of the pocket very well. This knife also carries really well. It's a pretty light knife. I mean, the handles are plastic, and there is quite a bit of internal milling, if you can see that. Where's my flashlight? There he is. Yeah, you can see that milling. So yeah, that's cool. Very light knife, not super big in the pocket. I mean, let's compare it against a PM2. It's a little bit slimmer than a PM2, just a little bit. What is it? Yeah, it's a tiny bit slimmer than a PM2. So that's nice. I like to see that. So yeah, carries really nice. In fact, I found that this was a knife that was just really easy for me to just pick up and throw in my pocket when I'm just, I don't know, going around my usual life. So that's cool. Next thing, the blade. I love clip points. I really do. I think they look great, but this blade is really nice. 9CR is a steel that I have no problems with at all. It has a choil in here that you can choke up to. Very thin hollow grind. Very thin. This knife is so thin behind the edge. Look at that. Really, really nice. Great slicer. Very acute tip. Good for poking into stuff. So yeah, really nice. Really, really nice blade. The ergos on this knife are good too. Very neutral shape. Like that. It's not really contoured. Well, maybe, yeah, it's a little bit contoured. But I don't know. It's just very hand-feeling. Like I said, you have that choke-up point. So very, very good ergos. Clip is a little bit of a hot spot, but honestly not that bad. I like that it has a backspacer. I like backspacers. And it has a lanyard pin in the backspacer. I think that's really, really cool. It's a good way to do a lanyard. Access to the lock is good. No problems there. And the last thing I like is the handle, the scales. So these are plasticky, but it's not terrible. It definitely feels like plastic, but it's not terrible. You can get this knife in a bunch of different versions, a bunch of different colors of the plastic, as well as a fancy upgraded version that has a Damascus blade and carbon fiber scales. I like that they kind of went out of their way to make this slab of plastic look a little bit nicer. They have the chamfer around the edges. They have this faux bolster here. They have the, if we can see here, very fine milling lines on the main part of the handle. I like that. You know what? It shows a little bit of, you know, they're just trying to give you something nice. So I like that. I really, really do. And it's something I appreciate. Another thing I guess I could say is the hardware, the T8s everywhere except for on the clip, which, you know what? I like that. One thing I do like, though, is that they did not make the pocket clip screws body screws on this knife. That's really, really cool. I like that. I don't like when Civivi uses pocket clip screws as body screws, but yeah, there we go. That's everything I like about the knife. And now I think it's time we talk about what I don't like. So, first thing I don't like. This knife is not centered. I tried everything I could to get it centered. Right now, the action's great and there's no blade play, but the centering is completely off. And no matter how much I adjust it, it just won't fix itself. So obviously that's not something that I'm excited about, but you know what? It's not rubbing on the other side. So and I've gotten a little bit better. It's just still not perfect. But this is the first Civivi knife I've ever got that was off center, though, I believe. I think this is the first one, so it's definitely worth taking note of. Fit and finish was just a little bit off there. So yeah. Next thing, the flipper tab is actually pretty sharp. Pretty sharp, actually. And if you're just fidgeting with this for a little bit, you will actually feel that flipper tab. Now, again, it does give you good grip, but it is a little bit sharpish. Let's look at this. yeah, it's a little bit sharp. Let's grab that dogma again, see if we can do the same thing with its flipper tab, which is noticeably more rounded. Little line, but yeah, that's it. So definitely, flipper tab is on the sharper side. So yeah, definitely you can count that as a negative. Next thing, the pocket clip is, I'm not a big fan of this clip. I've talked about this a lot. I don't like this clip from Civivi. I wish they go back to this clip. But you know what? It's honestly not that bad on this knife because of, it's at kind of the fattest point of the handle. In fact, I don't really feel it at all when I'm like this. When I'm like this, I feel this part a little bit, but yeah, you know what? It's not terrible. I still would prefer a different clip, but it's not terrible on this knife like it is on something like the Hadros or the Lazar that I've reviewed recently. So yeah, not bad here, but I just don't like this clip in general, so I'm going to point that out every time I see it. Me and this clip have a vendetta. Next thing, I do wish there was a little bit of jimping up here, honestly. Just because this is very, very smooth. It's not like uncomfortable to put my thumb up here, but it's smooth, and I don't feel like I've got a good grip there. And I like to put my thumb on the spine of my knife when I'm cutting. So, for me at least, not having good jimping there is a negative. Next thing, I feel like the hole is a little bit difficult to get to, especially with a thumb flick. It's not the best. Oh my gosh. There we go. But, I mean, it's okay. The plastic, I don't really mind. I'm not going to count that as a negative because I don't really care for Civivi's G10 that much either, to be honest. But, and especially at the price. We'll talk about the price in my final conclusion, but, I mean, it's plastic, so I don't mind it. This is just kind of an EDC, like a light-duty EDC knife, in my opinion, so, yeah. One of the biggest negatives of this knife, though, is that it's not super original. As we proved at the beginning of this video, the blade is the same as on the Dogma. They just took the Dogma blade pattern, made it in 9CR18, and slapped on this. The other thing, too, is this has the exact same handle as the Trailblazer from Civivi and the Vagabond. Now, I believe the Ortis came before the Trailblazer or the Vagabond, or maybe the Trailblazer came first, can't remember, but either way, I just don't like seeing Civivi reusing their patterns, especially if they're going to give them a different name. Like taking this handle and putting a drop point blade on it with thumb studs and saying, oh, this is a completely new knife called the Vagabond. I don't know. If they had just called it the drop point Ortis, I think that would have been a little bit more acceptable with the Trailblazer or the slip joint Ortis. I don't know, but and then this one they took the blade off the Dogma, slapped on a new handle. Civivi pumps out so many knives. I understand why they do it. to save time and money and stuff. But it does kind of lead to having that feeling of Civivi leaning more to quantity over quality. I'm not saying they are, but it does kind of give that vibe. I will say, some of Civivi's releases that they have coming out here in the end of 2021, early 2022, are giving me a little bit of hope because they do seem to be a little more original. They're coming out with some button locks. Although the Cogent looks suspiciously similar to Civivi or the Sencut episode. They have one that's coming out that's a front flipper knife with also a multi-tool front flipper part. I think it's super cool. But, I just don't like to see laziness, like recycling different design elements. But that's going to be all the negatives. So let's go ahead and get into my final opinion. What's the price on this? These come in at under $40. I like this knife a lot. I really do. So this one is on loan to me from a buddy. So thank you. You know who you are. I'm going to get myself one. And exactly this version, the blue. Because I like blue. I love that it's a clip point. I'm a sucker for clip points, I'll admit. Like the Ergos. And while I was reviewing this knife, the thing that kept coming back to me is this is just such a easy, no-brainer type knife to just throw in my pocket. Especially during the school year where I'm at college. This is a very nice knife. It's not super threatening, in my opinion. It's really easy to carry, walking around campus and stuff. It's great for light-duty EDC. I mean, it's not heavy use with this skinny blade. It's just a great EDC knife. And I'd find myself, this was sitting on my desk, getting dressed in the morning, and grabbing the Ortis and going out the door. Because it's just so easy to grab, because it's a reliable, simple tool that I know is going to be what I need for the day. And I like that. I like that feeling of simplicity. And so I like this knife a lot. I have given 2 of these as gifts. I gave an Ortis to Austin for Christmas when these things first came out. It was the OD green scale with the black blade, and he loves that knife. He loves that knife, and I got to handle it a little bit after I gave it to him, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, this is a good knife. I also gave one to my girlfriend, the all murdered out, the black version, because she's a badass like that. And she likes it too. And to me, that's a testament to the effectiveness of a good simplistic design, that it appeals to a wide range of people. Austin is a knife guy like me, but he also has different tastes than me. I much more prefer clip points than Austin does. Austin's more kind of tactical in his view on knives. My girlfriend isn't really a knife person, but, she likes her Ortis and she uses it all the time. She finds a use for it. And so I think that's really good. And I recommend this knife? Yes, 100%, especially since the price is so good. Let me grab something. This is the CJRB Feldspar, a knife that I love, and I think it's a great budget knife. And one of the things that I think keeps CJRB, sorry, I forgot the source, a solid competitor for Civivi is that this knife is under $40. And most Civivis, especially nowadays, are getting a little more expensive. But this knife brings them right back into competition with things like CJRB. This is D2 and G10, and I do prefer this knife over this knife. But you know what? The Ortis is 100% a completely recommendable knife for me. And I think everyone should have one. And that's going to be it from me. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave it a like. Comment below, tell me what you think about this knife. And I'll see you in the next one. Gideon out.